Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to day 9 of From Dua to Qadr. Today we will wrap up the dua that we started 2 days ago. This is the third part, the climax of the dua that we started 2 days ago. It's a very comprehensive dua. The first part of I broke it up into three because the dua is long. So the first part of the dua was focusing on seeking refuge from 6 diseases, 6 spiritual diseases, from incapacity, from laziness, from cowardice, from miserliness, from decrepit old age, and the punishment of the grave. Yesterday, we did part 2 of this dua, which talked about asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant taqwa and purification to the nafs, because He is the one who can purify it. Today, we will conclude with the third part of this dua. And here, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to ask for protection from 4 spiritual catastrophes. And the sequence and the order of these 3 sections, part 1, part 2, part 3, is important, which I will come to at the end when I conclude. So today's dua is, Allāhumma innī bika min ilmin la yanfa'u, wa min qalbin la yakhsha'u, wa min nafsin la tashba'u, wa min da'watin la yustajābu lahā. Very comprehensive dua. Rough translation of it is, O Allah, I seek refuge in you from knowledge that does not benefit me, from a heart that does not humble itself before you, from a nafs that is never satisfied, and from a supplication or a dua that is not answered. Look at those 4 things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has asked us to ask Allah for protection. Specifically, those 4 things are 4 extraordinary gifts that Allah has given us. Ilm, knowledge, qalb, heart, nafs, your ego, without which you cannot survive. Your dua, the ability to call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And each of these 4 gifts are meant to bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here's the catch. All 4 of these things can be corrupted. Your ilm, your qalb, your nafs, your dua. And when they do, what you are left with is the shell of a worship. The soul of it is gone. And this is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking us to ask Allah for protection. That none of these 4 gifts become a punishment. None of these 4 gifts become a punishment. The very first one, Allāhumma innī bika. We have seen this before. I seek refuge in you, O Allah. And Allāhumma is a very direct way of asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Min ilmin, from knowledge. And then he doesn't end there. La yanfa'u, that does not benefit me. Which means I have knowledge, but I don't use it. Which means I have knowledge that enters the mind, but does not enter the heart. In other words, there is a lot of information I may have, but it's not transforming me. Without action, facts without action is meaningless. Perhaps you know the Quran, but you're not living it. You recite beautifully. People love your recitation, but you're not following its commands. That is what this dua is asking for protection from. La yanfa'u. Min ilmin la yanfa'u. A knowledge that does not benefit me. I study hadith and I take dars, but I'm not implementing it. I know the sunnah intellectually, but I don't practice it. I accumulate Islamic knowledge for ego, to win arguments, to be called knowledgeable, to feel superior, but I don't want to implement it. This is what this dua is asking for protection from. And why is this the very first thing that the Prophet asked us to ask for protection from? Because knowledge is the foundation of everything. If your knowledge is broken, everything built on top of it collapses. The next thing is qalb or heart. A heart cannot humble itself without proper knowledge. After that, it is nafs. A nafs cannot be satisfied without the right understanding. So knowledge is the foundation. The next thing after that was dua. A dua cannot be sincere without knowing who you are calling upon. Knowledge. Knowledge is the gateway. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has compared the example of one who is entrusted with knowledge but is not implemented, does not understand it. It's like a donkey carrying books. A donkey carrying books does not benefit from what is on its back. It's a devastating image and a very strong image. Ibn Masud, radiyallahu anhu, said, knowledge is not the abundance of narration, but knowledge is khashya of Allah. So in real life, the student of knowledge who knows the rulings on backbiting and gossip, but gossips after every class. The one who watches hundreds of Islamic lectures, but never applies a single thing. The person who can quote scholars by name, but neither he nor his family has ever prayed the tahajjud. That's the first one. That's the very first one. Ilmin la yanfa'u. Right after that, qalbin la yakhsha'u. Now after knowledge is the heart. A heart that has become hard. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Prophet is asking us to ask protection from Allah from a heart that has become hard and sealed and unmoved. That heart that listens to the Quran, hears the Quran, reads the Quran, understands the Quran, feels nothing. It stands in salah, but its mind is somewhere else. You see the signs of Allah in creation, in life, in death, and then you shrug. Khushu is not just concentration. Khushu is a state where your heart is trembling from the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here the Prophet is asking us to ask us for protection min qalbin la yakhsha'u, from a heart that does not tremble, from a heart that is not soft. When was the last time you cried in sujood? It is the khushu that makes you stand in prayer as though you see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the first thing to be taken from my ummah, listen to this, one of the signs of the last day is khushu in salah. It becomes a bunch of actions. Ramadan becomes a diet. Hajj becomes a trip. The shell of worship remains, the ruh is gone. That is what he's asking us for protection from. And what causes hard heart? Excessive sinning, attachment to this dunya. The more you love this world, the less your heart trembles for the next world. Wasting time on entertainment and video games and endless talk and entertainment. Your heart gets drowned in that noise, can't hear the Quran anymore, can't feel the Quran anymore. Bad company, avoiding remembrance of Allah. You have access to a class from that you can take from your home or if you're driving, but you don't want to do that. Avoiding the remembrance of Allah. What's often said, the flip side of it, reciting the Quran with reflection. Remembering death, visiting graveyards, attending janazah prayers, making dua in the depths of the night. So this is a person who prays 5 times a day but can't remember a single thing they said in their salah. This is what we are asking for protection from. وَمِن qalbin la yakhsha'u. وَمِن nafsin la tashba'u. Subhanallah. A nafs is a bottomless pit. No matter how much it gets, it is never satisfied. Wealth, praise, food, pleasure, status, followers, you name it, it wants more. And this is where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had said that the son of Adam, if he had a valley of gold, he would want a second. If he had a second, he would want a third. He's never satisfied. And that is what the word tashba'u is used. which means from a soul, from a nafs that is never satisfied, that is never full. With wealth, you're always comparing yourself. You get a new car, now you're going after the next version. You get a new house, you're comparing yourself with somebody else and you want the next one. You earn well, but you always feel poor. You have good food, but then you consume more and more excessive consumption, never content with what is on your plate. With status, you're chasing titles, you're chasing followers, you're chasing recognition. You want a promotion, immediately, once you get a promotion, you want the next one. Always looking for something more, always looking for something more. This is the example of nafs. And Ramadan is training the nafs to be satisfied. You are hungry, you are thirsty, but you hold back. That is the restraint. That is teaching the nafs that you don't need everything you want. The fourth one. وَمِن دَعْوَةٍ لَا yustajābu lahā. From a dua, protection from a dua that is not answered. This is the ultimate spiritual tragedy. You raise your hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the dua doesn't land. It doesn't reach, it bounces back. And it is placed last for a reason, because the first three cause it. Knowledge without benefit, the first one. A heart without khushu, the second one. Knowledge without benefit, you are making dua with a mind full of information but no sincerity. Heart without khushu, you are making dua with a heart that is distracted and hard and attached to this world. A nafs that is never satisfied, you are making dua while drowning in this dunya. And your attachment to this world blocks the dua from ascending. And scholars have identified many such blockers for dua to be accepted. One of them is haram income. Single biggest barrier. This is mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. A distracted or absent heart. Allah does not accept a dua from a heart that is heedless and distracted. When you don't know what you're saying, your heart is somewhere else and you're attached to this dunya. Persistence in sin without making tawbah. That's the third blocker to your dua being accepted. Fourth is giving up on dua too quickly. Impatience. Fifth is not making dua at all. Why did the Prophet ﷺ fear this? Think about this. His food was halal, his heart was pure, his knowledge was the most beneficial, his nafs was purified. Yet he sought refuge. This tells you no one is safe. If the Prophet ﷺ feared this, you and I should be terrified. You and I should not be putting dua on autopilot, where our lips are moving, or we're saying Ameen behind the Imam, not knowing what we're asking. Mind is elsewhere. You ask Allah for barakah in your income, in your rizq, yet your rizq has haram. You ask Allah for guidance, yet you don't open the Quran for weeks or months. This is what we are asking for protection from. So the cure here, purify your income. Be present in your dua. Understand what you are saying. Allah is listening. Use your words. Cry to Him. Whisper. Pour your heart out. Combine dua with action. Dua is not a replacement for effort. It's a companion of effort. Don't give up. Every dua is answered now or later. Or Allah will avert something else in your path. And make dua at the accepted times, like the last third of the night, between adhan and iqama, in sujood, at the time of breaking your fast, on a Friday, and so on. So with that, we have come to the end of these three parts of this beautiful dua. For practical tips, I'm just going to leave you with a few. Ask yourself, did my knowledge benefit me today? Did my heart feel anything today? Was my nafs content today? Did I make sincere dua today? That is your practical application of this dua that I taught you today. We will stop here. Tomorrow we will resume with another beautiful dua from the Quran and the Sunnah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant